And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Mind Blossom. In today's picture, we are going to watch as I create what is called Nocturnus number 1. Nocturnus, for me, invokes properties of night. Is that obvious? Maybe. But it's the word that came to me. Usually I make up my titles after the picture has been made. Sometimes it will come to me during the process of making the art, but I feel like most of the time it comes afterwards. Sometimes I struggle to think of a title at all. And I don't really feel good about posting my art on Instagram or putting it out there unless I have a good title for it. Sometimes I'll break that rule, but I think the title makes a difference. Nocturnus number 1. And the reason I make it number 1 is because there are, in fact, more than one Nocturnus. It's an ongoing series within the Mind Blossom. You will find many of these mini-series in the Mind Blossom. I have Wolfbite, I have Ultraviolet, I have Diamond Soul, I have Christ Consciousness. I was doing one called Adversary. I might return to that, I don't know. And so these recurring themes, I just lump them all under one name and then give them numbers. So it's like a mini-series. We should all be artists, and we should all give it away for free. We already do. We give our art away for free whenever we post on Instagram. People can get a look at it, and they can get some of the value of it. They don't get the full value, though. Just looking at artwork on your screen, on your phone, I don't know. I mean, I think there are better ways to capture the essence of a picture. Maybe I'm biased because I'm looking at it on my iPad and I'm, spend more time with it. And of course, I think my art is special. But I think it's better to see it in a big NFT gallery. I think that would be dope. You know what I mean? It's like when they made Lord of the Rings, it was better probably in theater. You know, when we make these great big epic movies, I wonder if the directors and them and the producers and all, if they know that it looks better on screen as opposed to on your phone, where it has to get compressed. Anyway, what am I even talking about? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah. Everybody should be an artist. Everybody should live creatively. Now, I'm not saying everybody's got to make digital alchemy, but I'm saying I think creativity is where is the silver bullet to depression. Okay, so then what is it? How can we operationally define creativity? I don't know if you can. You probably can, but there's a limit to how helpful these operational definitions are. Creativity is when you feel it, right? It's a fire, and it's either on or it's not. And so many of us have been conditioned to feel this fire only when we're on substances. I'm talking about even caffeine. But it is what it is. I'm a caffeine drinker. I had 2 coffees this morning, and now it's still morning, but I'm having tea instead of a 3rd cup of coffee. That 3rd cup, even the 2nd cup, doesn't hit the same. The 1st cup of coffee that you have in the morning is perfect. And you go for a second. And once you get it, it's not like it was. It's never as good, the second cup. And then you drink it anyway. And you still have the whole day ahead of you and you wonder, should I have a third? And at some point, after enough instances where you take that third cup, you're going to realize I better just get tea instead. Because that third cup of coffee is not doing me any favors. And it might actually drive me insane. So I'm drinking some type of blackberry hibiscus black tea. Oh, man. More and more, I see how self-expression is the main priority driving force from my work. It's apparent to me now that I will continue to do some kind of creative thing even when I don't get paid for it. Or even if I have to pay for it, because I pay for Midjourney to make this bat thing that I created. I generated this with AI. And Midjourney costs like $30 a month. And then Procreate costed $20. And the iPad, I can't remember how much the iPad was. But not really. I mean, you gotta think that's a pretty cheap overall start. Get an iPad. I was like $400. I can't remember now. It was years ago that I got it. Buy Procreate. Because Procreate's like $20. Procreate is so dope. The best. I would rather have Procreate than Photoshop. Just me personally. There's a lot of things that Photoshop does that Procreate cannot do. But Procreate is perfect for me. And I use Midjourney, which you don't even have to do that. Like, you don't have to be using AI in your work, obviously. It's extremely unpopular. I mean, actually, it's really popular, but there's just as many people who hate it, who have a vehement, oppositional mindset towards it. Okay, who am I to deny them their enemy? You get to choose your enemies. And yet, the enemy is also you. Ain't that crazy? All of our external enemies are just projections of ourselves. That tea is still so hot. And I poured it into the same mug that I was drinking my coffee out of. And so now within the tea, in the tea, I can taste the residue of the coffee. I can taste the ghost of my 2 cups of coffee haunting my mug, permeating my tea. I can't remember now if I even washed out my cup at all. Doesn't taste like I did. Because this tea tastes a little bit like coffee. This is a weird combination. But it's still too hot for me to really get a mouthful of it, so I gotta just let it sit. I like to take big gulps of tea. I don't like to do little sips. I take big gulps of tea. But you can't do that when it's really, really hot, So this is where I am. Because there's so many artists in the world and like on Twitter or X, and Instagram and everywhere. There's just artists. So many good artists. There's so much art. It's almost like it becomes a lottery for you to be seen. So what do you do with that? As an artist, I watch a lot of tutorials and, not tutorials, but advice on Instagram for artists, and I really don't come across a lot of valuable stuff. And just based on the most valuable thing the advice that I've heard is that consistency is the only thing that matters as an artist. Consistency, and when I ponder on that, what I see is that consistency is the only way to produce a body of work. A body of work is a body. It's got a form. All the work you've ever done, in your lifetime, your whole life as an artist, your whole life as a human, you have a limited amount of time to make art, to do everything. So if you choose to make art, that means you have to sacrifice time from something else, and you won't develop in that area. So it does take sacrifice. You sacrifice time to make art. And if you consistently sacrifice time over the course of your life, when you look back, you'll see that so much of your life was spent on art. And so many other things too, of course, like work and all that, but you do all that for the art. And it may not ever even pay you back. Ain't that crazy? It may not pay you back. And yet, it had to be done. And so, in this modern world with infinite artists and just creativity like it's never been before, and if it seems like a lottery to get noticed, then maybe that's not the best place to put your attention. Because it's random, basically. Are you going to get seen or not? The only thing I can control as an artist in this equation is how much of myself do I show through my work. Not necessarily pictures of me or stories directly about my life, but does my artwork reflect my inner world in some way? Probably the emotions, because the emotions have color. The emotions are what fuel our thoughts. Our thoughts are like empty vessels, and our emotions fill them with, energy and light. Light of every kind. Light is information. At the very core, we have our consciousness, our awareness. And if we peel back everything, we just find this pure awareness. And that awareness inside of that, the nucleus of that is the void. Non-existence. You can take a problem in your life and withdraw it all the way back until it hits the perfect void in the center of all things. And it disintegrates in there like a black hole. And that rejoins. And then maybe out of the voids it will pop on out again with a new form. It's very sexual, if you think about it. Things going into this void, things coming out of it. And I think our consciousness, I feel as if our consciousness emanates from that void. How? I don't know, and I don't need to know. Don't need to know that yet. And we're back. I stepped away to make lunch, do some stuff, make some more tea, think about the rest of my day, think about life, think about controlling my mind, or else it's going to get controlled by something else, and that kind of thing. What in the world could control your mind? Oh, anything. Anything can control your mind. Mind control is based on repetition. If somebody wants you to have a new thought form in your mind, if somebody really wants you to start thinking about one thing in particular, they will repeat it. But of course, when it comes to mind control, that repetition has to be covert. It has to be something that slips in through past your awareness, past your psychic sensor, and into the deep mind, where it can plant as a seed. Its power lies in its subtlety, just going under the radar. This is how information is planted. It can be used for good, or it can be used to destroy. You reap what you sow. And the mind is a garden, perfect soil, where anything can grow. And that's another reason why I try to focus on the best possible scenario at all times. This world is full of chaos. So it seems. And if I'm not mindful, then any type of seed could get planted in my mind. Music has a way of doing this. Because certain music, it sounds good. You listen to it over and over again. And that's repetition. So whatever message that music has, it's going to be in your mind now. I once listened to, when I used to make art in my studio, back in 2022, when I lived in my studio, I've talked about this before, but I would wake up in the morning and I would turn on music, brew a pot of coffee, and I would usually light a blunt, and then just get right into the art. And I usually put on MF Doom in the morning. I listened to so much MF Doom that a couple of times I have heard full MF Doom songs in my sleep, and I can remember the lyrics. Now I don't remember what exactly they were, but I remember waking up from those dreams thinking, oh my gosh, I really just heard that whole song, and I was singing it too, at like the top of my lungs, in my dream. So that got me to realize that the music we listen to definitely sticks with us. And I already knew that beforehand, and I see it more and more. I see it today. I see the effect that it has on children. I worked in a group home for teenagers. I did that twice, actually. I used to be a case manager for teenagers in a group home. And recently, I had one of my counseling internships at another group home for teens, which is the exact kind of place I didn't want to go back to because it's very challenging. But I really think karma brought me back. In any case, though, I hear the music that a lot of teens listen to, and I see the way it affects their mind. How can I tell that it affects their mind? You can see where somebody's thoughts are by way of their behaviors, the things they say, the content that they produce, and the way that they produce it, their style, the way they carry themselves and interact with other people. You can kind of see where a person's mind is at. Trap music, drill music, a lot of modern rap. And if you have ever listened to this, if you've ever listened to this style, you hear it. You hear the aggression, and it's just all based on competition. And competition relies on division. You need to be separate. Nothing wrong with this, by the way. These are natural things, but I prefer togetherness. I prefer more togetherness. And when you're young, when you are more impressionable, and so whatever, it's easier to program a young person's mind. They're generally more naive. And so the youth get targeted more. Just like in the wild, predators will go for the weakest, go for the child. And children really are the future. Children are the future. So yeah, we talk about a lot of different stuff at the Mind Blossom. These are very tangential episodes. And what I'm really saying is I don't stay on topic for very long. And what I'm really saying is I don't remember what I was talking about. I don't remember what I was talking about. I'm vibing. Somebody told me once that I seem like I'm from Ohio. That's what one of the kids told me at the group home one time. I was their counselor. I was a counseling intern. And one of the clients, one of the youth, told me that I seemed like I'm from Ohio. Is what it is. This blackberry hibiscus tea is so good. Sometimes tea is the best thing to drink, and other times I don't want it at all. Sometimes I don't want it at all, but sometimes it is the best thing to drink. What else was I talking about? I wanted to talk about how everything in our world is made up of the five elements: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. Those are the main energies that underlie all material things. And the Chinese elemental system is a little different than that. They use fire, water, wood, metal, and earth, I think. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But perhaps they're describing slightly different things. They probably both arose out of maybe different collective consciousness types. I don't know. And yet they do share some similarities. The underlying point is that there is a balance of energy archetypes underlying all existence. I'm using earth, air, fire, water, and spirit because it makes more sense to me. I'm not clinging to these things. It's this system of this elemental system is only useful if you can use it to change your daily life and to adjust your thinking and your mood and emotions. It's only useful if it can bear fruit. So that's why you should use this system that works for you. Ultimately, we're trying to recognize new patterns of thinking and new patterns of emotion. Just new patterns in general. And I say thinking and emotion because that dominates. I know I'm always thinking about stuff, and I know I'm always feeling some type of way about everything, be it good or bad. And so I try to curate. That's right. I try to curate the thought forms that I keep in my mind. And if it's not working, I tear it, I shred it like skin, and let it disappear into the void. I may have said this already, but at the center of all things is the void. Yes, I mentioned that. I let that disappear into the void. And the things that are serving me and are serving others, I keep those going. More and more, I see that having a good day-to-day experience is true wealth. They say health is wealth, and that's true too. Because in order to have a good day-to-day experience, you got to be healthy. If you're healthy, you're enjoying everything. Health of mind, too. Health of spirit as well. What do I mean by health of spirit? Well, is your aura right? Is your energy good? It's not just your mental state. We're all a little crazy sometimes, but we can still be putting forth our best effort. It just makes it harder when your mental state is off. Excuse me. It makes it harder when your mental state is off to be with good energy. It's more of a challenge. So if your mind is right, you can definitely easily get your aura together. And if you got to keep your body right too. That exerts aura as well. It influences your aura. And keep everything straight and balanced. Going to the gym, like having a gym routine is awesome. If you're bulking or trying to lose weight or getting toned or whatever, trying to get better at cardio, if you're in a sport, something like that, it keeps your body active. Something to be said about keeping your body active. It changes your aura. It changes how you feel. Like you've given this body. So make the most of it. Treat it right. It's a living thing, even if it's all an illusion. Still, it's like a living thing. Everything that's living is an illusion. Doesn't mean it shouldn't be treated with respect. So the body's important. The mind, of course. If the brain isn't doing right, if you have psychological problems, your life is going to be so much harder. So you should seek help when you need it. I sought help when I was going through a breakup back in 2019, 2020, the beginning of COVID, right before COVID started. I sought help from a counselor. I sought personal discovery. That was my goal. I wasn't even really sure about what I also just wanted to vent to somebody. When I focus on the best possible scenario at any given time, I am perpetuating the ideal thought form. I'm just sharpening my thoughts, into an arrow, and that arrow shoots me right in the way I'm supposed to go. Just keep the right thought forms in check. And the emotions, I control my emotions too. I work on it. I remind myself to. This is the only thing I can do to stay happy. This is it. Finding joy in each thing instead of... sometimes when I get obsessed with art, that's all I can think about. And no matter where I am, at the grocery store, at work, or even with people I love, I'll be thinking about what do I want to make. And I got to get back to that project. Sometimes that happens, and that's unavoidable sometimes. You just can't help but think about it. It's the curse of creativity is what a lot of people call it. It demands your attention. For some of us, and maybe for all of us, but for artists, there's a part of our soul that wants to keep us captive, and it wants all of our attention. The path of healing your soul, paying attention to your soul, the soul, what could it be? What is it? Some people lose it, so they say. How do you lose it? What does it mean? Where does it go? Does it ever really leave you? Can you find it again? Can you regrow the soul? People say that when your heart breaks, your soul breaks. A piece of it disappears. And you're not the same. And then other people say you can regrow your soul. The damage can be undone. But if you lose it outright, do you just disappear from space and time until the point where nobody says your name anymore and everyone forgets about you? But it's impossible to forget about some people because of the artifacts they leave behind. Music, art, books, videos. But at that point, the soul is gone, and all that's left are those static artifacts, which can only repeat the same energy over and over again. They're not coming up with new things. At this point, once an artist dies, their body of work in that incarnation is crystallized for good. They'll never make more work, not in that life form, at least not in that incarnation. And so the soul is out of here. And wherever it's gone, it's gone somewhere. Can a soul go back into the void where it just dissipates? Can a demon take your soul and crush it up and use it for alchemy? Serious. And turn it into an energy source? What do they do with it? Who's taking souls out here? And can anybody ever get it back? Well, who knows? And maybe somebody knows. I'm sure they do. But it doesn't really matter, because you shouldn't even be thinking about getting your soul took or having it lost in any way. Focus on the soul growing. How do you know your soul's growing? Well, you can feel love. Your world opens up instead of closes. You have an appreciation for change and a love, not even that, you love change. Harmony. And yet, are there any souls out there who thrive on disharmony and discord? Are there souls who are chaotic in nature and they swirl in a counterclockwise way as opposed to a clockwise way? Are there those kind of souls out there who their very existence perpetuates, if not instigates, chaos? Do such souls exist? Or are they perverted versions of our regular souls? Or do both exist at once and they're related to each other, like a positive particle and a negative particle? I don't know, honestly. That is where I don't know. Just something that comes to mind. At the end, we do have the positive and negative polarity down here in this in this duality. Oh, we balance that thing, baby. We balance that thing. Artificial intelligence and tariffs, and we've got, chaos. People seem compelled to be in a hurry and to make such a nightmare scenario out of everything. We're all living in a collective drama. All right, and so what? We just keep going. We just keep living. Keep making the most out of our situation and feeling the right type of way. You can control how you respond to your own thoughts and emotions. You can decide how to think and feel. You have that power. Part of getting that power involves not needing to micromanage every little thing that happens around you, because the life is like a moving, living thing, and it's going to do what it wants to do, and you can't grab it. You can't just grab a living thing. You frighten it, and you'll hurt it. And that's life. Will be treated the same way, and it will treat you that way back. So it will, if you mistreat life, it will mistreat you. If you love life, it will love you right back. There is a light from beyond, an invisible light that touches our spirit, and it compels the spirit to intensify, and it brings your body along with it. It's good to get in touch with the spirit. It turns life into something different. It makes you know that there's a realm outside of this, and that the barrier between these two realms is not as solid as you might think. And facts alone, knowledge alone won't help you pierce the veil. As a matter of fact, we don't really pierce the veil, in my opinion. Piercing the veil is when you can go crazy because you're suddenly exposed to things that were previously hidden. And too much exposure all at once is shocking, and it can break your reality and drive you insane, give you psychosis, which are uninvited hallucinations. You didn't mean to bring them on. You don't want them. They're causing you stress, but you also can't get rid of them. That's psychosis. That's different than gradually moving into these higher planes, going through the veil gradually, melting into it, falling into it, surrendering to it, and letting the beauty of its miracle rain down on you. It will bless you with everything you need if you just take it easy. So no need to pierce the veil. You just fall into it, and it disappears, and you're in good hands. You're in very good hands. And it's in that place where you see that life treats you the way that you treat it. So if things are going wrong, you can always just bring it back to center. And from there, it changes and things will reverberate from the inside out. Like I said, it's a garden inside. It's a garden, and you plant whatever you want to plant. The seeds of energy, they will grow. And it's a good thing that it takes time because, some good things take time to manifest, but also bad things take time to manifest too. So it's like, don't beat yourself up for having a bad thought because you didn't. It takes repetition, constant repetition for that thought form to grow. So an evil, ugly fruit, and a terrible, wicked tree can only bloom in your garden if you constantly feed it. So learn to not feed it, learn to starve those thought forms, and you starve them by removing your conscious beam of attention, your awareness. You put it on that which matters. You put it on the right thing. And yet, there is a time and place for focusing on your pain. There is a time and place to come face to face with your demons, your vices, your fears, physical pains even. There's a time and place to focus on the center, the very nucleus of your trauma. You may have to go back there several times, but at some point you won't have to go back there ever again. So this picture is called Nocturnus 1. I have Nocturnus 2 as well, but that's not going to be out for who knows when. Who knows when? This is Nocturnus 1, the vampire. Vampires feed on others or they disappear. We do that too. Humans do that too. We feed on plants, animals. Plants are alive. They feel pain. They cry out. They get mowed down by the millions. And yet there is a different type of spiritual vampire. The kind of spirit that exists, and it can only sustain itself if it absorbs energy from other beings, spiritual energy. And perhaps there are vampiric entities so great that they sustain themselves by drawing on the life force, the soul of others. They steal your soul. Could these entities exist? I don't see why not. I think everything exists. Does that mean we should be afraid of them? I don't think so. No, I don't think we should. You should remember that you can give permission to these entities to take your soul or not. Your soul belongs to you, and you can regrow it, and you can make it bigger. There are ways. I'm really not going to talk about how that happens because I'm not a master of that science, but I know there are ways to increase your soul and to make it whole again, because we all lose little pieces of it here and there. I think little pieces of our souls exist inside of our vices, and we want to be reunited with the fragments that we've lost, and so we return to those vices over and over again because something in there is trapped and it's in pain, and it requires constant stimulation to be to be kept alive. Okay, but what we do is we release all of our vices and we just integrate those pieces of our soul back together. Okay, that is possible. All right, everybody, this has been a Mind Blossom production. I appreciate you joining me on this day, and until next time, everybody, peace out.